Russia's grand imperial ambitions are crumbling before our eyes, but not through battlefield victories. Instead, it's the story of a leader paralyzed by fear, a shadow cast by a tiny flag. During Vladimir Putin's recent visit to Kyrgyzstan, the host nation was forced to conceal the Ukrainian flag behind a giant screen in front of the world. Imagine the scene, a state so afraid of a symbol that it hides it like a dangerous secret. How absurd is that? A regime that struggles to conquer a vast nation on the battlefield is trembling at the sight of a single flag fluttering in a neighboring city. This diplomatic scandal exposed the true fragile psyche of the Kremlin, an empire built on illusions now shattering in plain sight. The embarrassment didn't end in Kyrgyzstan, it spread across continents. Washington's blunt words revealed the depth of Putin's diplomatic deadlock. When asked what concessions Russia would make, the answer was simple: stop fighting, give up more territory. But Putin's response? Arrogance and stubbornness. He demands recognition of annexed lands, threatening perpetual war if his demands aren't met. In Bishkek, he dismissed international pressure with a cold rejection. He claims Ukraine will withdraw from occupied territories, or else they'll take it by force. But what is Kyiv doing in the face of such relentless propaganda and stubbornness? Ukrainian President Zelensky is proving daily that Ukraine is more than capable of defending itself. Not just with words, but with decisive victories on the ground. One of the most striking responses was the attack on the port of Novorossiysk. Putin claims victory will come by force of arms, yet Ukraine struck at his most vital economic artery. It was a calculated blow and a profound statement. Since Russia's Black Sea Fleet was forced to retreat from Sevastopol, Novorossiysk has become its main logistical hub, a symbol of Moscow's supposed strength. But on November 25, that fortress was battered. Why compare this to the destruction of the Crimean Bridge? Because that bridge was Russia's lifeline to the front lines, delivering troops, gear, and supplies. Now, Novorossiysk carries Russia's oil and ammonia exports, lifeblood for the war effort. Nearly 40% of Russia's oil comes from this port. It's a vital economic artery, open year-round when Baltic ports freeze over. In a coordinated strike by Ukrainian forces and intelligence agencies, the Shakari's oil terminal was devastated. This is a direct hit to Russia's ability to fund its military campaigns before winter. For ordinary Russians, it's a terrifying sign. Their main source of income, pensions, and social benefits hangs in the balance, threatened by Ukrainian drones attacking supply routes they once thought invulnerable. Even more humiliating, a large landing ship, one of the pride of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, was damaged. Satellite images show it being towed away, battered and in need of repair. Imagine, a ship that symbolized Moscow's power at sea, now abandoned at its own base. Within 4 years, half of Russia's landing ships have been decommissioned. The last bastion in Novorossiysk, once considered impregnable, is now under siege again. The attack didn't stop with ships. It targeted Russia's technological shield, the air defense systems. Novorossiysk was equipped with S-300 and S-400 batteries, believed to be impenetrable. But Ukrainian drones, flying far from their own bases, penetrated this supposedly protected zone, exposing cracks in Moscow's defenses. They targeted the S-300 and S-400 complexes directly, leaving the Russian military scrambling. If such a defense system can't stop a small drone, what hope is left? The aftermath was chaos: missiles misfired onto civilian neighborhoods, homes struck unintentionally but with devastating effect. This technological failure isn't just embarrassing, it's catastrophic. Russia's once prized air defense is now a panic machine, harming its own people. The implications reach far beyond Novorossiysk. They threaten to dismantle Russia's entire Black Sea strategy. Crimea, considered the fortress, no longer safe. The port of Sevastopol is now a death trap, vulnerable to missile strikes and unmanned surface vessels. Moscow's command had to evacuate its most valuable submarines and warships from Sevastopol to Novorossiysk. But now, even that haven is under threat. The message is clear: wherever the Russian fleet attempts to hide, Ukraine will find it and strike. It's a relentless hunt, and Russia's navy is shrinking, fleeing further east to ports like Akakira, which lack the infrastructure for larger vessels. Their fleet has shifted from a formidable force to sinking ships in hiding. While eyes remained fixed on Novorossiysk's flames, a more sinister attack was unfolding in northern Crimea. Ukrainian drones struck the Parakop bromine plant, critical for military manufacturing. The factory, built during the Soviet era, produces chemicals essential for the production of bombs, fuel, and defense systems. Destroying it isn't just sabotage, it's crippling Russia's ability to manufacture war materials. This was no isolated strike. Attacks on aircraft repair facilities, military supply depots, and strategic industries have become synchronized, part of a complex, integrated campaign aimed at crippling Russia's ability to sustain its war effort. Russia proclaimed it had built an impenetrable defense bubble over Crimea and Novorossiysk, impenetrable, they claimed. Yet Ukrainian long-range drones shattered that illusion. They flew hundreds of kilometers, piercing the defenses, hitting S-300 and S-400 batteries and exposing the vulnerability of Russia's technological armor. So the big question remains, if a defense system designed to protect an entire region can't stop small drones, how can Moscow defend itself? Everything now hinges on the shifting sands of this relentless drone war, an invisible, ever-looming threat that's tearing apart Russia's hopes of dominance at sea and land. What's next for Russia's crumbling navy? Will the fleet retreat further east, abandoning the Black Sea? Or will these new strikes awaken a desperate, catastrophic response? One thing's certain, Ukraine's uncompromising tactics are rewriting the rules of warfare, exposing the fragility of an empire's long-held illusions of power. And with each strike, Russia's once-feared fortress shows more cracks, revealing a sinking empire trembling in fear. In the shadows of Putin's boasts about forcing Ukraine to surrender, a devastating strike unfolded at Novorossiysk port. As Zelensky called it a showcase of daily victories, Ukraine hit back hard. They struck Russia's economic lifeline, his most fortified naval base. Let's dig in, since the Black Sea Fleet fled Sevastopol. Imagine the roar of explosions echoing over icy waves, as Ukrainian Navy Captain Pavel Lokichuk warned. This November 25th assault on Novorossiysk? It's like ripping apart the Crimean Bridge all over. That bridge hauled military gear to the front. Novorossiysk pumps out oil and ammonia, stuffing Putin's war coffers. Roughly 40% of Russia's oil flows from Black Sea ports. Mainly Novorossiysk and Tuapse. When Baltic harbors freeze solid in winter, these alone stay clear all year. A true economic vein for Russia. What ignited the flames? A joint SBU and Ukrainian defense raid. They wrecked the Shakalinske oil terminal. Before winter's bite, it threatens Russia's steady oil, petrol, and ammonia tanker hauls. Feel the chill already? For everyday Russians, it spells danger. Salaries dwindle. Social perks vanish. Pensions teeter. The stability myth Putin peddled? Tied to this oil flow. Now, Ukrainian drones poison it. The military sting? Even worse. A giant landing ship. Project 1171 Taper class, moored at Novorossiysk. Damaged outright. A warship punched at the Black Sea Fleet's safest core. Satellite shots from OSINT analyst Tom Bake. The Taper, dragged away by 2 tugboats. From the dock, to a hidden spot inside the breakwaters. For sneaky repairs. Stop and breathe. Half these landing ships, icons of sea invasions on Ukraine, scrapped in just 4 years. One of Russia's hulks, smashed at her Black Sea lair. Deemed untouchable. Secretly hauled by tiny boats for fixes. The Black Sea Fleet scraps? Unsafe even in Russian waters. But the true hammer? Not the oil spill or ship gouge. Air defense crumbled, that Putin hawked to the west for billions. Novorossiysk bristled with S-300 systems, S-400 arrays. Pantsir. Tor rigs. Supposed to be a fortress zone. Ukrainian drones swooped in. Russia's defenses? They panicked. Leaked videos from SPU spies, locals show. Pantsir missiles chasing drones. Missed horribly. Slammed into civilian flats in Novorossiysk. A Business Insider scoop? Russian rockets bombed their own homes. Technological chasm exposed. Cheap Ukrainian drones? They neuter Russia's pricey shields. Turn them into chaos engines, hurting civilians. The army blew up its own town, to halt the swarm. Shockwaves rippled past the burning docks. To Moscow's war rooms. This raid erodes Russia's Black Sea core. Crimea unsafe? Mainland burns now. Ukrainian Navy officials said it plain. No Black Sea haven for Russian vessels left. Sebastopol, a trap from storm shadow weapons, unmanned boats. Command yanked prized Kilo subs, frigates to Novorossiysk. Their Alamo, final bastion. Now, besieged by drone strikes. The SBU message roars. Wherever you scurry, we'll track and shatter. So, where next for Russian ships? Flee farther east to Sochi? Shallow, isolated, unfit for big warships. Black Sea Fleet status? From ready force to hiding ghosts. Switching harbors to barely survive. If ships fear the waves, the Navy collapses. Wrecked in Novorossiysk? Worse than a base. It's Russia's fuel pump. The port gates Caspian oil. Central Asia flows via CPC pipeline. Halt or slow exports? Kremlin's cash cuts sharp. Business Insider. Kiev Post say, energy funds the war. Ukraine squeezes war GDP. Oil prices jumped 3% after the blast. Markets dread Russian shortages. But Kremlin terrors deepen. Insurers label Novorossiysk a combat zone. Tanker premiums soar. Shipping costs balloon. Profits shrink. Ukraine enforces an oil siege with drones. As Novorossiysk blazed, a stealthier slash hit northern Crimea. November 23 released footage from Ukrainian Unmanned Systems Forces commander. Domestic FP-1. FP-2 long-range kamikaze drones pummeled the Krasnoperkopsk bromine plant. Not just a spot. Europe's East Sole bromide maker. For chemicals, meds, and army needs. This Soviet relic feeds defense chains. Drones hit the plant and a 220 kilovolt grid station. To cripple Crimean factories. No bromine? No military chemicals, fire gear, fuel boosts. Ukraine dismantles tanks and the ores to forge them. This sparks a full industrial feud. Don't see Ukraine's raids as blips. Synced hits on aircraft shops in Novorossiysk. Krasnoperkopsk. Taganrog. Execute key strategy pillars. Crushing Russia on battlefields, economies, mines. Understand deeper. Russia bragged about Crimea. Novorossiysk's airspace shield. Anti-access, area denial weave. S-400 radars. The Novorossiysk Pierce popped it. Ukrainian homemade drones flew hundreds of clicks. Through fortified skies. Targeted S-300, S-400 sites. If defenses guard nothing, who do they protect? Wait. Can you smell the saltwater sting? Hear engines whine? Feel deck tremors? Russia's empire teeters. As Zelensky's shouts echo. Daily victories aren't tales. They're Ukrainian steel. Yet, what if Novorossiysk heralds more? Hidden plans brewing? Twist your mind. Has Putin glimpsed his end? Or does the fog reveal worse defeats ahead? What unseen move lurks to shatter Kremlin's mask? The Black Sea's wild winds whisper answers. But Ukraine? They're turning tides. Striking veins. Crumbling crowns. Imagine sirens wail in Moscow. Doors slam in panic. The empire's pulse fades to a whisper. Yet, the dawn creeps near. More bombs drop. Economic walls crack. But could whispers of surrender stir? Or does the rim of horror deepen with secrets untold? As fires licked Novorossiysk skies, a masterstroke emerged. Putin's forces towed their wounded beast, exposed like a fumbled trophy. Can such shame ignite revolution? Or buries Russia's glory forever? The drones hum louder now. Closer to collapse. What betrays next, in this dance of shadows? The scent of defeat lingers, thick as smoke. Yet, the veil parts slightly, revealing cracks in tyranny's armor. But brace, for tales of resistance yet to unfold. Where fear feeds the flames, and victors rise from ashes. Who will dare peek at broken seas, and see empires drown? In waves of ruin? Where every crash foreshadows downfall. Imagine this, a mighty warship, once a symbol of unchallenged power, limping away in secret under the cover of night, pulled by humble tugboats like a wounded giant dragged to hiding. In the last moments, we saw how half of Russia's sea invasion fleet, those massive landing ships, has been sidelined in just 4 years. Now, the unthinkable unfolds at what was supposed to be their ultimate safe haven. What if your invincible fortress turned against you, firing wildly into your own streets? That's the nightmare unfolding in Novorossiysk right now. Satellite eyes from above reveal the truth. A Topaz-class landing ship, one of Russia's proudest naval beasts, struck right in the heart of the Black Sea Fleet's main base. This place was meant to be untouchable. But Ukrainian precision strikes changed everything. Feel the tension, the creak of strained cables, the salty spray of the sea mixing with acrid smoke from distant fires. 2 small tugboats haul it away, sneaking it into sheltered waters for desperate fixes. Humiliating, isn't it? Russia's once dominant sea force cowers even in home waters. But the real gut punch? It's not just the damaged ship or the disrupted oil flow. No, it's the shattering of Putin's billion-dollar illusion sold to the world, an unbreakable air shield. Novorossiysk bristled with S-300 and S-400 systems, Pantsir defenses, and Tor missile nets. Impenetrable, they claimed. Yet, as Ukrainian drones buzzed in like silent ghosts, the whole network freaked out. Panic rippled through the ranks. Video smuggled out by sources and everyday folks hit social feeds, heart-pounding chaos you can almost hear, the whoosh of missiles gone wrong, the shatter of glass in quiet neighborhoods. Russian Pantsir units fired blindly at the intruders, and missed. Instead, they slammed into civilian homes. Reports from outlets like Business Insider confirm it. Their own rockets tore through apartments, endangering innocent lives. Shocking twist, Russia's high-tech guardians became monsters in the night, bombing their own city just to fend off cheap drones. This asymmetry hits like a thunderclap. Ukraine's low-cost flyers don't just dodge million-dollar shields, they expose them as frantic failures, turning defense into self-inflicted wounds. The Russian forces had no choice, shell their streets to stop the swarm. Sensory overload, the boom echoing off buildings, the sharp tang of cordite in the air, families huddling in fear from friendly fire. How fragile is that empire, crumbling from within? Those ripples from the strike? They crashed far beyond the terminals, choking black smoke, straight into Moscow's war rooms, shaking strategies to the core. This blow speeds up the unraveling of Russia's Black Sea gamble. Crimea unsafe? Retreat to the mainland, they thought. But now, the mainland blazes too. A Ukrainian navy voice cuts through, no safe nook left in the Black Sea for their vessels. Sevastopol? A graveyard, thanks to storm shadow strikes and unmanned surface vehicles, those sneaky USVs. Command pulled back treasures, Kilo-class subs, sleek frigates, to Novorossiysk. Their Alamo. Last stand. But whispers grow, even this bastion teeters under relentless drone shadows. Will it hold, or fall next, dragging the fleet into total chaos? Following the devastating attack on Novorossiysk, the Russian Black Sea Fleet finds itself teetering on the edge of collapse. Once a mighty symbol of Russian naval dominance, it's now a shadow of itself. The once impregnable base has become a ghost shipyard, with key assets evacuated or crippled. Ukrainian unmanned kamikaze drones struck the critical Parakop bromine plant in Krasno-Parakopsk, an industrial fortress vital to Russia's military and economy. This isn't just a factory, it's the backbone of the region's chemical supply chain. Its destruction threatens to paralyze Russia's war effort and industrial capacity, stripping away essential raw materials like bromine and compounds used in weapons manufacturing. But what's truly alarming is the message behind this strike: wherever you hide, we will find you. The Ukrainian forces have made their stance clear: no port, no energy hub, no strategic facility in Russia's Black Sea region is safe anymore. As the Ukrainian barrage intensifies, the Russian Navy's last hope, the Black Sea Fleet, is forced into a reluctant retreat. After evacuating their most valuable ships, including the crucial Kilo-class submarines and top-tier frigates, they've now shifted from the doctrine of active defense to hiding in the shadows. Ports like Novorossiysk are no longer the bastions of strength but are turning into traps. The fleet's main stronghold has become a prison, an Alamo in the midst of a relentless siege. Facing relentless drone attacks, Russia's navy seems to be losing its foothold. The feared port now risks becoming a battlefield, its pumps, fueling central to Russia's global energy exports, are being systematically destroyed. Novorossiysk isn't just a military target, it's the core of the Kremlin's financial lifeline. Nearly 40% of Russia's oil exports go through this port, powering the economy and funding the war effort. The global markets are trembling. Oil prices spiked 3% after the strikes, a clear sign of fears over disrupted supply chains. Insurance companies now view Novorossiysk as a war zone. Premium rates for tankers skyrocket, and the cost of Russian oil transportation soars. Ukraine's strategy is unyielding: impose a physical embargo through relentless drone strikes, choking Russia's primary revenue source. But the danger extends beyond the port. While all eyes remain on the flames and chaos in Novorossiysk, a more insidious blow was launched further north. On November 23, Ukrainian long-range kamikaze drones struck the bromine factory in Krasno-Perekopsk, the only facility of its kind in Eastern Europe. This factory's destruction doesn't just cut off raw materials, it cripples the industrial backbone of Russia's military hardware. With this attack, Ukraine signals a new era of economic and industrial warfare, targeting not only military targets but the very raw materials that sustain Russia's war machine. The strategic implications are staggering. If a port or factory as resilient as Novorossiysk can be so easily compromised, what hope does Russia have of maintaining its dominant posture in the Black Sea? The entire region trembles on the brink of a new reality, one where Russian assets are exposed, vulnerable, and increasingly irrelevant. The question remains, how much longer can a navy survive in a theater where the enemy strikes with precision, defying expectations and shattering illusions of invincibility? The coming days will reveal whether the Black Sea remains Russia's fortress or transforms into a graveyard of ambitions. In recent weeks, the world has watched as Ukraine intensifies its strategic strikes against Russia's most vital infrastructure. While global attention was fixed on the blazing flames in Novorossiysk, a more concealed and calculated attack was unfolding far in northern Crimea. This wasn't just a blow to military assets, it was a calculated move that challenged Russia's very notion of security and technological dominance. On November 23, dramatic footage emerged showing domestically produced long-range kamikaze drones striking a critical facility in Krasno-Perekopsk, home to Europe's only bromine and bromide production plant. This facility isn't just a factory, it's a vital artery in the Russian defense industry. Bromine compounds, essential for military manufacturing and industry, have roots stretching back to the Soviet era. Ukrainian drones targeted the plant and its power station, aiming directly at immobilizing Crimea's industrial backbone. Imagine the deafening hum of drones slicing through the air, metal wings vibrating, sensors locking on targets, a faint chemical smell wafting over as explosions ripple through fragile chemical tanks. Without bromine, key military chemicals, fire suppression systems, and fuel additives vanish, crippling Russian military power from within. Ukraine isn't just defending itself, it's attacking the raw materials that sustain Russia's war machine. But this wasn't a solo strike. Simultaneously, Ukraine launched coordinated assaults on aircraft repair factories across Novorossiysk, Perekop, and Taganrog. Each explosion echoed like a thunderclap of resilience. These attacks aren't random, they're part of a master plan. An integrated war strategy designed to choke Russia's military supply chain and psychological resolve. Russia boasted about a nearly impenetrable air defense shield and anti-access area denial zone fortified with S-400s, radars, and layered defenses. But Ukraine's advanced drones, locally developed and precise, punched through this supposedly invulnerable barrier. They flew hundreds of kilometers into the heart of Russia's most secured regions, directly engaging S-300 and S-400 missile systems. The question looms, if Russia can't defend its own defenses, who can it keep safe? As the echoes of drone engines fade, the message is clear. Ukraine's strikes are redefining the battlefield, not just with firepower but with strategic cunning. The Russian military's once seemingly unbreakable bubble is bursting, leaving the Kremlin questioning the very strength of its technological might and security fortress. How long can a regime cling to illusions of invincibility when even its most sophisticated defenses are vulnerable to relentless, homegrown strikes? In the previous part, Ukrainian drones pierced through Russia's most fortified skies, striking at the very heart of air defenses like the S-300 and S-400 batteries. If these systems can't shield themselves, what hope do they have for anything else? This vulnerable state has transformed the region into fresh drone territory, stretching threats even toward Sochi. Can you imagine Russia's elite, once lounging in luxurious Sochi winters, now flinching at every distant hum of an engine, knowing Ukrainian drones could shatter their paradise with a single, explosive boom? The wind carries the salty tang of Black Sea betrayal, as fear grips the air. Fear that Ukraine's relentless shadow now looms over Putin's sacred retreat, all the way to these coastal retreats beyond. Picture this chilling twist: while Moscow's propaganda blares about unbreakable alliances, these strikes expose a crumbling facade. For buyers like India, Turkey, and China, sinking fortunes into Russian tech now feels like grasping at smoke. Have they been duped? Those mighty S-400 systems, hailed as drone slayers, crumbled before cheap Ukrainian plastics, whirring machines turning myths into metallic dust. The stench of burning ego wafts globally. A warning that Russia's technological crown might have forever lost its luster. Yet Ukraine doesn't just dismantle defenses, it flips the script on economic warfare. Remember the desperate Russian blockade on Odessa's grain terminals? Missiles rained down, intoxicating the world with famine's bitter promise. Now, Kiev answers with fire, igniting Novorossiysk's oil veins. Kiev whispers a defiant message: choke our ports, and we'll torch yours. Tan grains are vital, but without crude, the Kremlin drowns in its own greed. Every rocket hurled at Odessa dings millions in lost profits from smoldering pipelines. Unsustainable math that sets the tyrant's own empire ablaze. Zoom out to this seismic shift: Novorossiysk and Crimea attacks reshaping the war's brutal map. Russia's Black Sea lifelines choke in a deadly triad: Sevastopol, the Kerch Bridge, and Novorossiysk, all quivering under Ukrainian drones or missile threats. The grinding roar of explosions echoes reforms. What next terrorizes the shores? Intelligence whispers of eastward expansions, deeper inland assaults. Topping the onslaught, Twop's oil refinery, south of Novorossiysk, scarred before and ripe for ruin. If this key port falters, burdens cascade to Twop's ripe for intensified Ukrainian barrages that snuff out Russian escapes. The raw grind of silenced machinery pulses through the night. A sensory siege stripping alternatives bare. Then comes the Rostov-Krasnodar railway nexus, a pulsing artery ranked next in peril. As sea routes shard into danger, Russia pivots to rails, fragile threads linking Novorossiysk's chaos to Rostov's supply hubs. Vulnerable bridges of steel, now humming with uncertain fate, ready to snap under the weight of unseen blows. So, as the dust settles on searing ports and splintered supply chains, the question lingers in the air's acrid haze: will Russia's next desperate gambit crumble before it even begins, or does Ukraine's vengeance pulse closer to the heart? Stay tuned. For the shadows creeping inland. The scene is one of chaos amid a relentless assault that's changing the fate of Russia's Black Sea region. As Ukrainian forces intensify their strike operations, Russia's once mighty naval stronghold, Novorossiysk, lies battered and vulnerable. The strategic logistics hub, long a symbol of Russian maritime power, is now the epicenter of destruction and despair. Imagine the deafening roar of explosions, the acrid smell of burning oil, and the crackle of radio communications filled with panic. Ukraine's tactics are more than mere assaults, they are a calculated campaign to dismantle Russia's heartland in the Black Sea. With each strike, they are tearing into the very veins of Putin's war economy. The attack on Novorossiysk's oil terminal wasn't just a sabotage, it was a blow to the core of Russia's financial lifeline. Petroleum's worth billions, crucial for fueling the war effort and sustaining the economy, are now flowing in chaos, increasing global fears and driving oil prices higher. But the damage doesn't stop at economic sabotage. Ukrainian drones, made of lightweight plastic and gliding with near invisibility, silent assassins flying just above the water, are rendering even Russia's most sophisticated defenses useless. The improbable success of these tiny craft exposes a terrifying truth: Russia's air defense systems, once deemed impregnable with advanced batteries like S-300 and S-400, are now ineffective against a new kind of warfare. Their own missiles are striking civilian homes, turning the very technology meant to defend them into agents of destruction within their own borders. The attack on Novorossiysk has shattered the illusion of safety, forcing Russia's naval command to evacuate its most prized vessels, submarines and frigates, lying vulnerable in an already compromised port. Once considered a fortress, the Black Sea Fleet now limps from port to port, hiding in shadows, desperately trying to avoid the relentless reach of Ukrainian drones. Imagine the cold steel ships, once symbols of invincibility, now being towed away under the cover of night, a chilling scene of defeat sinking into the waters. This catastrophe signals a shift in the strategic balance. The entire Black Sea region, which Russia preached as their protected domain, is unraveling. With threats extending all the way to the sacred region of Sochi, even places once considered untouchable are now within Ukraine's reach. The very idea of a protected Russian rear, safe from attack, is crumbling before our eyes. The once formidable defenses are exposed as paper thin, unable to repel a foe equipped with precision drones and relentless tactics. And beyond the ships and ports, the economic shockwaves ripple worldwide. Oil exports, vital to Russia's financial structure, are crumbling, ships stranded, insurance premiums skyrocketing, and the lifeblood of the Kremlin's war chest draining away. It's no longer just military strategy at play, this is economic warfare on a scale no one predicted. The port of Novorossiysk isn't just a target, it's the gateway to Russian energy dominance, now under siege, bleeding profits and destabilizing the entire establishment. As fires rage and the wreckage of key facilities smolders in plain sight, the most sinister question looms: can the Kremlin halt this hemorrhaging? The harsh truth is devastating. Russia's military posture, once boastful with illusions of impunity, now faces the grim reality of being unable to respond effectively. Every defensive move risks further destabilization, a concept known in military circles as compulsion to move, where inaction or miscalculated responses worsen the crisis. So, what's next? The Black Sea, once considered Russia's maritime dominion, is transforming into a deadly trap. Ukraine's precise, relentless strikes are turning what was supposed to be a shield into a deadly snare. The question no longer is whether Russia can stop the bleeding, it's whether they can even slow the flow before their empire's strategic heartbeat is silenced forever. In the gripping tale of Russia's crumbling empire, we've uncovered how their defenses are failing spectacularly. Looking at the harsh military and logistical truths, the outlook for Russia is terrifyingly bleak. They've stumbled into a trap called compulsion to move. Every defensive action might worsen their plight. The core issue? Russia's air defense strategy is mismatched against modern threats. But why can't they shield Novorossiysk and its vital energy sites? Their doctrine was built for a different kind of conflict. Imagine the sting of defeat in the crisp winter air. Have you ever wondered why a superpower trembles at plastic drones costing peanuts? This shocking truth exposes Russia's fatal flaw: their S-400 missiles, worth millions, now bankrupt their budget aiming at cheap Ukrainian drones. Shivers run down spines as the Black Sea turns into a paralysis zone. Inaudible hums glide silently, radar invisible like birds skimming waves or valley floors. The mockery deepens, Ukraine's devices hit for $10,000 to $50,000 each, while Russia's shots ignite friendly fires, blowing up their own homes with acrid smoke and screams echoing through shattered streets. Flames lick the night, choking the air with burnt oil stench. But this isn't just economic suicide. Russia's navy floats homeless, Sevastopol abandoned, Novorossiysk ablaze. No havens left as ports crack under relentless barrage. Their economy lies exposed, terminals scarred, repairs elusive, exports choke like veins clamping shut. The grim reality? Russia can't defend its crown jewels anymore. They can only scrape debris. Sirens wailing, anticipating the next aerial swarm. This strategic unraveling humiliates a regime clinging to illusions. Picture the elite's panic, even Sochi, their decadent sanctuary, now in drone crosshairs. Ukraine's war grips Russia's core, strangling from within. Yet, the climax twists like a blade. What if this bloodletting signals not collapse, but awakening? As Kremlin leaders scramble amid economic hemorrhage, a whispered revelation emerges: Ukraine's campaign has provoked unintended alliances, forcing global powers to rethink Moscow's waning might. The Black Sea trap snaps shut, but could Russia's desperation ignite a chain reaction, drawing in shadows from beyond? Rushes of wind carry the scent of impending chaos, grains of sand slipping through paralyzed fingers. In this high-stakes drama, where alliances fracture and empires bleed, one twist looms: Russia's safe rear has vanished, but their darkest secrets might soon consume the aggressors themselves. What hidden gambits will emerge next?